All right, we're at 7 o'clock. We will give this another minute or two, usually two. See if we get anybody else to come and join us this evening. Okay. Two. Uh-oh. Internet connection unstable. We're a little bit past 7:03, coming up on 7:04. We might as well get started here. Um, we will start with our disclaimer. Is up first off, I'll start with my name's Scott Weldon. Weldon. I'm the executive director of the South Carolina chapter of the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, and this is our Wednesday night South Carolina cannabis conversation. All of our meetings are an environment of education and awareness and are not an open market for the sale, purchase, or distribution of cannabis. We do not encourage or condone illegal behavior of any kind. All right, let me go ahead and hide that here. Um, we will be relatively quick tonight. Actually, well, first let me start by welcoming everybody to the Wednesday night chat. If you happen to be watching this on our YouTube channel live streamed, or if you happen to be watching it as a recording later, please know that we're not monitoring the comment section on the on the live stream for the YouTube. So if you do have any questions, comments, concerns, you can please leave them down below in the comment section. We will visit the channel in a couple of days and answer any questions or try and address any concerns that you may have. All right. Double check time again. We're a little after 7:05. Not a lot going on tonight, folks. I'm going to apologize to anybody who is tuning in. Um, we had a special guest scheduled for this evening and got a I don't want to say last minute because I did get the notification a few hours ago that they were in the hospital under the weather and will be unable to attend. Um, so we are going to try to reschedule that for another Wednesday night. Um, Last week we actually had sort of a free chat, free conversation, open conversation, primarily because we were anticipating the announcement of the House of Representatives version of the MORE Act being introduced and at the federal level. That did happen the following day, I believe it was last Thursday. So that has now been introduced back into the House. It was the Senate version that passed last December. And just to sort of give you a little bit of notation on that, where's my notes? Oh, I don't have those notes. Where are they? All right. Well, anyway, it was introduced last, like I said, I believe it was last Thursday. And what I'm going to do here is drop in the chat, make sure I have the chat window open. This is a link to the explanation of the bill. It's explaining the entire bill on our national website. So you can go into all the details on it. If you'd like, what we can do is share this with you for a moment. Let me find my share screen. There we go. Okay, that link will take you over here. History making legislation to repeal marijuana prohibition reintroduced. And this was, you can see, May 28th. And this was today introduced by committee chair Jerry Nadler, along with the Cannabis Caucus co-chairs Ed Blumenauer and Barbara Lee. Judiciary Committee Judiciary Crime Subcommittee Chairwoman Sheila Jackson Lee, and House Democratic Caucus Chairman Hakeem Jeffries. And Small Business Committee Chairwoman Nadia Velasquez introduced the Marijuana Opportunity Reinvestment and Expungement Act of 2021, better known as the MORE Act. I don't think anything has really changed when the MORE Act was approved by the House of Representatives in the previous session. Congress demonstrated in no uncertain terms that the days of federal marijuana prohibition were numbered. I thought that was in the Senate last session. I'm sorry. While Senate Majority Leader Schumer and Booker and Wyden continue to solicit feedback for their forthcoming legislation in the upper chamber, the House is preparing to once again advance criminal justice-focused legislation that will bring our failed prohibitionist policies to an end, while also ensuring that those Americans who are saddled with the consequences of marijuana conviction can have their records cleared. I should have probably been better prepared, but I wasn't because again, that last minute changes. Um, let's see what we have here. But welcome, Joey. Excuse me. So the MORE Act is again very similar to how it was last session in the what this paragraph that I just read to you is basically telling us is it's the Senate version, which is being led by Schumer, Booker, and Wyden. They're still continuing to get feedback. They're soliciting feedback. Um, they're working, I know, on some of the tax angles of it. Um, I forget exactly what else they were working on. Again, I'm not totally prepared because of the last minute scheduling change. So bear with me here a minute. Um, there was the earlier legislation that was submitted, I believe it was by a Republican. Um, but what the difference would be between that and the MORE Act is the MORE Act has built into it the social justice, social liberties kind of, as it puts it here, criminal justice focused legislation. Um, so it's looking to also do as it had before. Um, Reinvest in, as it says in reinvest into the communities that have been hardest hit by the war on drugs. The expungement is built into the MORE Act, where that again is not necessarily a feature of the, or I don't believe that's a feature at all of the Republican version. Theirs is just to deschedule, nothing about actually expungement or reinvestment or any of that kind of stuff. So this is the one that's favored by normal. This is the one I would rather see us move forward on. What I will do real quick, let me find it here. I am just going to drop again down in the chat window. That is the link to our action alert to contact your House members and ask them to support, sponsor, support and co-sponsor the House version of the MORE Act. All righty. Geez, we're only 12 after. I'm running out of things to talk about. How unusual for me. I do have a series of posts that we will be sharing out. Actually, I probably should have been sharing these in the past couple of days, but I've been a little bit behind schedule. Um, I know we have shared some about the introduction of the MORE Act again, but excuse me. Um, I have not been actively posting to our social media as I normally do, so I do apologize for that. Okay, well, let me just kind of see what's going on my other screen here. I have some notice pop up.
Scott, I know I was late. Did you discuss Amazon at all?
Oh, no, no, I haven't discussed Amazon. That's some interesting information. I don't know if that is, I didn't read the articles, partly why I didn't. I shared it. Let me go find it. Did you read it? Is that nationwide that they are stopping the cannabis testing?
It is, but it's for all employees that are not involved with the Department of Transportation.
Right, so not drivers type of thing, correct?
Correct. Or I think warehouse personnel as well. Now, not like takers, but like I
Maybe like
think
the forklift operators, that
right,
kind of thing.
right,
So,
right, right.
and anybody, that could, I mean, that could be understandable. But um, one of the things that one of the other things that I shared today, this actually came out a couple days ago by National Normal, um, and it was a couple of and talking about an app for measuring impairment, which, as we know, the pre-employment cannabis tests do not measure impairment. So this is pretty much more for the potential stoned driver in states that are worried about intoxicated driving, more so than in the pre-employment testing, type thing. But this is something I've been advocating. Not this particular app, but there was another one um, that was on the job testing. And what it was is it was actually a kind of a daily testing. You could probably do it more as a random by having maybe people do it only once a week or something. I don't know exactly, but for the most part, what this system was that I'm talking about, not the one that we shared, um, was, oh gosh, I wish I could remember the name of it. Uh, but for the most part, it was done on like an iPad or a mobile device, uh, and it would have the employees as they're clocking in run through a little series of puzzles, and depending on how stringent they want to be with their testing, the puzzles could be anywhere from 30 seconds to 2.5 or 3 minutes, I think, worth of puzzle taking. And what interesting about it is it's testing for impairment. It's not testing for any substances in your system. It's testing for cognition. It's testing for, I guess, eye-hand coordination. Um, and so it's checking everybody, whether there's and that to me is a good thing for safety in the workplace, because primarily you could walk in sluggish in the morning from being up late all night. Whether it was young parents who have a baby that's a new baby that's keeping them up at night, or you could maybe have had too much coffee in the morning and you're jittery and that throws you off. Or there's so many different. You could have a cold and you're fuzzy. Um, and all these things are doing is checking impairment. You could be intoxicated on substances as well. And that's what these things would find is you are impaired. And that's what they're testing for. So probably and what I did read from let me go back and find it. I did read a little bit of the Amazon article. They are still going to be testing for other substances. So it's not like they're not stopping substance testing, pre-employment substance testing altogether. They are just dropping the cannabis portion of it. Let me see if I can find a little more on it.
I think the bigger part of that story is the fact that they're putting their substantial political weight behind legalization.
Mm, I think in a way that's sort of yeah, they want to stop the um, well, they want to stop, I guess, discriminating against what could well be qualified employees just because of a
Right,
substance they choose, and the fact that more and more states are legalizing,
right.
whether it's for medical use or whether it's for recreational use. Um, and Amazon's got operators everywhere throughout the country. I don't know if they have warehouses in every state, but they definitely have hubs or
Everywhere, yeah.
everywhere. They
Everywhere.
have operations everywhere. Um, and okay, it says it right there, sort of. Seattle-based Amazon also said Tuesday it will support the federal legalization of marijuana by pushing lawmakers pass the MORE Act, what we were just talking about. All right. Um, so that's nice. That is a definitely a bigger part of the picture, because that's um, well, another thing that sort of surprises me is because when you look at California, California is legalized for both medical and recreational purposes. Decriminalized, how long ago? And California is largest economy in the world. Um, I want to say it's the fifth largest economy in the world.
Yeah, I think that's
Um,
right.
uh, you would think the rest of the nation would go, "Hey, they're doing something right. They got a heck of a good economy going there. Let's follow suit." But
And not only that, but every state that has gone to legalization has seen profits from um, ending prohibition. They have seen an increase in their tax revenue that they can do various items with, whether it be pay raises for teachers, infrastructure repair, whatever they need it, they have the extra to put toward whatever the problem may be.
oh, right, and you and I both well know that education could definitely use it. Helping the homeless in South Carolina could definitely use it.
Oh my
Um,
God.
eh,
I mean,
you
there's a shorter list of things that we don't need the money for than what we do.
hmm
And,
yes.
and that, I think a part of, the average age of our legislature plays a part in that, I believe. The fact that we have so many older um, conservatives in there. Some of the younger conservatives would be okay, but all of the power positions in our Senate are, you know, people who have been there for a while, older gentlemen, very conservative.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
I think
that's one of our biggest challenges in moving any type of decriminalization forward in South Carolina is we've got a Republican-controlled House and Senate in the state, and none of the Republicans are really interested in any type of decriminalization uh, because they kowtow or bow down to law enforcement and the justice system. Um, and they buy into those old stories of it's the gateway, which has been disproven for decades now, and um, they'd rather peddle opioids throughout the state or have opioids peddled and they just get their kickbacks. Then
exactly, exactly. I saw a representative from Virginia. Last name is Good. I'm not sure of his first name, but he put out a state. I saw on Twitter a copy of his letter he sent to a constituent, and he said marijuana is a gateway drug that leads to harder drugs. He said that drug dealers would, since they couldn't sell cannabis anymore, they would sell cocaine and other harder drugs, which is preposterous.
I you know as well as I do, if they were going to be selling those drugs, they were already selling those drugs. Um, and
Exactly. Nobody goes from marijuana to cocaine because that's a whole nother level, a
yeah,
totally different level.
yeah. I mean, like I said, you'll find people that'll deal in both multiple items, that kind of
Right,
stuff, just because
right.
they're a retailer, if you want to call it. Yeah. But one of the things I used to love is back in the old in the old days, they'll say, with Easy Rider and the song "The Pusher," and they differentiate the pusher from the dealer. I don't know if you're familiar with the song at all or not. Um,
I've heard it. I have heard it. I can say that, but I'm not very familiar with it. I hear the chorus in my head now.
okay, there you go. Yeah, it'll probably ring through for a while, but yeah, in the lyrics they talk about the different interpretation of it. The pusher is sort of talking about pushing the plunger on the syringe. So you're talking about mainline drugs, the hard drugs,
Right, right.
um, things that can kill you, and the dealer, just wants to sell you some sweet dreams or or whatever, just a good time, and nothing dangerous. And that was sort of the differentiator, and that was sort of it way back in, you know. Um, I'm sure that sort of morphed today. Like I said, I've said many times on these conversations, I know very little about the new modern day drugs, the MDMA's and the things like that. Um, I do know that some of them are being researched, like MDMA for helping PTSD patients. Um, Actually, I think they're changing it to PTS now. But anyway, um, um, but yeah, there's a lot of those that I'm just not real clear on. Um, you know, I I advocate for what I consider the safe one, cannabis. Nobody's overdosing on cannabis. So
That's for sure.
yeah, and that's where even the studies, like you're saying, this legislators, you know, hyping propaganda. And that's one of the things I love about the normal fact sheets. I will many a times respond back to this type of stuff with an appropriate link to one of the normal fact sheets, and they go into a whole bunch of different studies. It just doesn't say here's the facts and one thing. There's links within those fact sheets that go into the studies that they're reviewing, because all the fact sheets are reviews of studies related to those particular subjects. Um, Good examples, they talk about cannabis and psychomotor skills. Uh, and those are really important when you're talking about like safety in the workplace and things like that. How does it affect people's psychomotor skills? Um, and that kind of stuff. The other ones where it talks about legalization of cannabis and opioids and how, what the effects have been. And, we're seeing that there's a drop off in many of our legislators. They want to stay blind to that. You got fearmongers like my local senator Sandy Sen, who says it's just going to be a bunch of 18 to 20 something year olds on the corner smoking weed and these pot shops with big pot leaves on the outside, neon flashing, and it's all about the money, denying the fact that the enforcement of it is all about the money and the billions of dollars spent a year on locking up people for cannabis, and they've been doing it for decades. There's where you're talking all about the money. That's where we need to
She's
reallocate.
sickening.
Yes, yes, I think so. So that's where we need to reallocate those dollars that are going to law enforcement, is put them back into community service organizations and that type of thing, helping people with mental illness. We should not be sending a bunch of armed gunmen that have nothing really more than a high school education in many cases, uh, and 6 months of training in to deal with people that are having a mental crisis. Um, that's not their job, and their job isn't to be judge, jury, and executioner. Um, Anyway, I don't want to go ranting on that. That's not but a lot of I mean, the reason I rant about that is because a lot of times it's instigated by, you know, oh, I smell pot, or oh, I see a baggie, or and then it escalates from there, in many cases. So, um, all righty. Any other thing that you'd like to talk about, Joey? Like I say, you may not have tuned in right when I was apologizing that our anticipated guest for the night was unable to make it. Um,
Oh
yeah, we were hoping to have. He's actually had some medical problems and so was unable to attend. I'm hoping to reschedule next week or two once I hear back and make sure that he's doing okay and is out of the hospital. Um, but in the meantime, we just decided to kind of chat about the more. Or I decided because that is why last week we sort of had the free for all conversation. Um, because we were anticipating the MORE Act being introduced last week, which it then was.
no.
But
And now that uh, Amazon has decided to support it, I think it really will go a long way. I really believe that.
I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, you do have your anti Bezos people, and I think I heard Bezos is stepping down from his position or whatever. Not that he's not going to be a majority stockholder or whatever, but shareholder. Um, but yeah, and I'm sure I would assume if that's the case, when the Senate version comes out, they will be supportive of that as well. Um, and so what was sort of
And look, I'm not naive. I'm not so naive that I don't. I think Bezos is doing this altruistically. I know there's a motive, a financial motive for them doing it
oh, I
on the
wouldn't
back end. On the back end,
I
once
wouldn't.
legalization happens.
Oh well, that as well. Get involved in the delivery and distribution end of it. He's got the biggest, baddest, distribution network there is in the country.
Right, right.
Um, and um, but yeah, even on the other side, even more currently, is they're kind of forced by this requirement. But I think it's mostly required, or I think it's mostly required by insurance agencies. It's not by law that they have to test. That's not part of the Safe Workplace Act. Um, but that was imposed for federal workers. Um, but what I think it does do is it just opens up the market for them. Not that a lot of their staff don't already partake. They probably just did their 30 days without or whatever before applying for the jobs. Um,
Correct.
but uh, there's and they're probably still going to be testing after the fact if there's accidents. Um,
Yes,
yeah,
that is mentioned in the article.
okay, I didn't see that one, Lord. I just skimmed it, but I would assume they're still going to be doing that. I would again hope that they would switch to impairment testing. Now, the one that I didn't read up on this app, but the one I was talking about starts with actually your own baseline. You sign into the system, you create your own baseline by going through the tests a number of times. I don't know if it's over a couple of days. I don't know if the employer gets to set how long the baseline testing is or if that's built in. But it's not just you testing against some random number limit, or something like
Hmm.
that. It's testing against your own baseline. And that way, if you come in and you are off that day or maybe even doing better that day, it'll indicate um, impairment. And that's the basic thing that I man, I wish I had it in front of me. There's some great videos. I think it's out on I want to say Venmo or something. Vimo. It's not Venmo because that's a payment thing. Um,
Yeah,
but
Vimo.
Vimo, okay. Um, about this impairment testing application, and it was being utilized in Colorado at I want to say an aluminum forge and milling factory. And they were talking to the employers and the administrative folks there and how beneficial it was because now they're not just getting some there's a substance in you. They're actually getting a comparative from the person's own baseline impairment test and saying, well, look, you failed the test today. We're just going to send you home. There's no legality involved or charges or anything about drugs or anything. It's just we don't feel you're good to work today. And that would probably be and probably so many times and you're out the door. So if you come in tired too
right,
many times, you're not getting sleep
right.
or that kind of stuff. Me with my gosh darn stomach issues, they affect me quite a bit. I'd probably be out of a job in no time. and it's like, crap, just because it's like I'm sluggish. I'm just not always focused. I mean, now some days I'm better than others, but that's what I think the companies need to shift to is that type of thing, not just randomly, oh, you've got a substance. Now, it's a little bit different with alcohol because the numbers on alcohol do correlate with the impairment. But again, that can be, um, that's the word I'm looking for. That can be not really accurate per person because you've got what I like to always refer to as the well practiced drunks, um, people that are kind of drinking all the time, and I've had some good friends like that. Uh, to people that only drink on occasion, and all of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden they're hit by their alcohol like immediately. Where these well practiced drunks, they know their
It's going to
limit.
take them 6 beers before they start feeling it.
Yeah, they take it takes more than it does with somebody who's not a regular
Right,
drinker.
right.
So their tolerances are built up, and that goes as well with cannabis. There could be a wake and bake cannabis person that I would rather have in my workplace working, uh, because they've built up their tolerance and they're still a functional work person than I would having somebody who's drinking on the job, um, any day of the week. Although I wouldn't say in my younger years I didn't maybe do a little bit of both, uh, but
Haven't we all?
yeah, but yeah, from an employer standpoint, I would say I'd be a lot less worried about somebody consuming cannabis than I would drinking on the job. And even still, that would should not be something that people should be doing. That's something you do on your own time when you're off of work. Um, so. Oh geez, where was I seeing? Probably McMaster drinking somewhere. And it's like, oh, but you won't
I
fire
saw
the
him on
guy.
Pints and Politics.
Okay.
We had a beer in his hand.
So that to me is
Believe.
you're endorsing a more dangerous substance when you do that, and he doesn't see it that way. Yeah. So anyway, the MORE Act is one thing is well, there's two things that come out with the legislation that's been proposed. One is the Republican bill that's come out that's looking to deschedule cannabis, but it doesn't have the rest of the MORE Act equities built into it, the expungement and the reinvestment. Um, that was sponsored by a Republican. And so that's something that here in South Carolina we can at least use with our Republican legislators is saying, look, even at the federal level, we've got Republican backing for descheduling of cannabis and moving it off the Schedule One. Um, so if nothing else, that bill is a plus. We'll see if it moves or not. Now, current in this current legislature, with it being democratically controlled in both the House and the slim margins that it is in the House and the Senate, um, at the federal level. And again, we're still anticipating. I don't know when. I keep hoping any day now for the Senate version to be introduced. Um, so in the meantime, definitely I don't know if these things we drop in the chat actually show up on our live stream. I might have to go back over and drop the link to our action alert to contact your House representatives. Let them know. And again, in my area here in Charleston, my local rep is Nancy Mace. Um, I Did contact her, reached out through the action alert, have not heard a response back from her. I've contacted her, reached out to her a number of times on joining the Cannabis Caucus. Uh, she's probably at least a little bit better positioned than Sandy Sen against Sandy state level, where Nancy's federal. Um, so anyway, reach out to your legislators wherever you are in the state, as futile as it might be with some of our representation here. Um, but let them know. What I found kind of interesting is WIS shared earlier today um, the story about Amazon. And I shared that out according to this 22 hours ago. So I shared that out yesterday at some point, or they shared it 22 hours ago. Yeah. And I shared it out about the same time, not long after. I saw that one pretty quickly. And oh, I fibbed. That was WSPA. That was a different news station. Um, but then I saw WIS share the question, should businesses stop testing employees for marijuana? And that one was getting some pretty interesting responses over on their web page or on their Facebook page. Um, so I'm sure a lot of them are. We'll keep an eye out on that and what news comes from that. And I'm sure that National will have something I'm hoping a couple of days, commentary on that as well. Otherwise, I want to thank you for joining me tonight. Not a lot else I want to talk about. We will try and get our special guest rescheduled for next week, and we will post that on our event and let you know in the discussion section. Um, Otherwise, reach out to us if you have any comments, questions, concerns at our on our website on the contacts page or by email at normalsouthcarolina@gmail.com, or you can also message us through Facebook and Instagram, and hang on, let me remember Twitter. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's it for me tonight. This is Scott Weldon with the South Carolina chapter of the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. Uh, I hope to be have some good news for you on topic next week. So next Wednesday, 7 p.m. I hope to see you right back here. Thanks for joining me. Have a good night now.